Welcome back to Paladin Financial Talk, where we dive into strategies for building wealth, planning wisely, and partnering with professionals that you can trust. So my name is Ellie Robinson. I am your host today, and today I'm excited to introduce a new strategic partner to Paladin Financial's network, William Nesser, who you see here on screen. He's an enrolled agent and president of Simmons & Simmons, Inc., located in Larned, Kansas. Is that how you pronounce it? Larned? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Kansas very well, William, so I apologize for that.
People in our town still don't know how to pronounce it.
What's the population?
4,000 for Larned.
4,000, okay.
10,000 in the county, so yeah.
A smaller town here.
Yeah.
William, you bring not only a strong track record in tax and accounting, but also a client-first approach we're aware of that aligns perfectly with our values here at Paladin. So with your BBA in accounting from Washburn University and a deep understanding of tax law, you have built a reputation for being proactive, precise, and truly committed to client service. So since acquiring Simmons & Simmons in 2017, it looks like I have written down here. Yep, you've led your firm with a focus on ethical practice, cutting-edge technology, and delivering efficient, honest results, which we also value here at Paladin. So whether you're a business owner or an individual navigating complex tax scenarios, today's conversation will give you a better look at what it means to have the right tax professional in your corner. So let's dive in. William, thank you for being on the show with us today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you. How is the weather down in Kansas?
We're getting a little bit of Minnesota weather right now, so we're
Are you?
super happy. You know, I think today is like 70 degrees, 68, cloudy with a little bit of rain. So it's been a nice break from the hot summer. One of the things we do for fun on the back end, which is a unique role for my job as an accountant, I'm a race car driver. So we race circle track cars. So like getting with my fire suit and helmet, not having to be in the 100-degree heat has been a nice break. So being in the shop and working when I get home is been enjoyable too, to not to be just sweating to the hilt at 5 degrees.
Yeah. That's awesome. Here in Minnesota, I don't know if you know about this, William, but the state fair is going on currently in the Twin Cities. And this is like the event of the year every single year for about 10 days. And it's really nice that we're having low 70-degree weather, because usually this time of year it's blistering hot and humid and it's disgusting going to the fair. You're just dripping in sweat, having all these greasy foods. So here in Minnesota, we're pretty happy.
Yeah, it's really good. Actually, we raced last weekend at the Kansas State Fairgrounds. They have a racetrack there.
Nice.
We were last Friday.
How fun.
Good journey, yeah.
You are a busy man.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's a great break from the day-to-day in the office. You know, I like to be in the shop when I get home, not in front of the computer. So it's a great, we do a lot of work at the office. So it's a kind of nice getaway from there.
That's awesome. Well, William, we're aware that you've helped, countless individuals and businesses navigate the world of taxes. And I know that you've seen it all. So what are some of the most common mistakes you think people see when they're filing their taxes?
So especially in like a self-prepared deal, that you see, there's questions a lot where they're trying to go through and they're trying to guide you through that preparation. But there's a lot more detail to the tax work than that. You know, we had a joke one year, somebody was getting some help in getting preparation, but they went through like a home office. Is like, do you have a home office? Well, there's a lot more layers to there than just having a home office. Everyone's got an office in their home. That doesn't mean it's deductible. So the biggest thing is when you self-prepare on that side, is just not knowing and going through. So common mistakes is, I just did a new client last year. A guy was doing his own return, kind of decided, I'm doing some self-employed, I don't want to do it anymore. He was including his kids' income on his return because that's just what he thought he was supposed to do.
Oh no.
There's just some of the things we've seen has been pretty wild, but it's hard. I mean, it's a full-time job for us and we stay on top of it, and to expect to be able to do that on your own without a day-to-day kind of being in there in education, I don't really think today it's honestly that possible.
Yeah. So with that in mind, do you have any tips or tricks recommended for people when they're either preparing their own taxes for tax season or when they're working with a professional like you?
A big thing is, I think, is kind of a cool system that has done is just that January is pretty critical, right? That important tax information, the system has like never been like clarified, but it's pretty good. Like everyone's realized if I put important tax information on the outside of this envelope, I need to keep it. So gathering documents in January is really crucial. Especially when you get to March, April, and then you start figuring out where I put that item. So just trying to have a safe place in filing and being organized the best you can gives you at least the strongest head start as working through when you get to your filing season.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great advice. I mean, let's talk about something that I think we see often is overlooked deductions or credits. What are some of those hidden gems that people might miss
Yeah, especially you get to the education or kids are in college, there's a lot of supportive things they got out there in programs. So you want to make sure you're keeping track of those 1098Ts. There's some creative things you can do there too with working with who's taking it, the student versus the parent, and working through that side. So I think those are the areas that you really need to have the ability to prepare returns in unison and make sure that you're capturing all those necessary credits, especially in the American Opportunity Credit. If your AGI falls in the range, the first $2,000 is 100% credit. So if you pay $2,000 out of pocket for the schooling, it's a $2,000 credit. So it's an exact return of that funding for what you put in there. And some of the things people don't realize in there, it's for, you can have some equipment. There can be a laptop. So what do most people get when they graduate from high school? They get a laptop to go to college, right? Yep. Well, that's eligible for the education credit. And sometimes that's greatly missed. That is a common thing that everyone gets, they don't think about. But if you haven't met that, let's say you're going to community college and you haven't met that $2,000 threshold, in essence, that credit will 100% pay for that equipment. So there's some things there to really just watch and go through. But education credits are a strong one. Kansas, we've got some rural opportunity zone pieces here that people don't realize. If you move from out of state into Kansas, then you can go 5 years state income tax free. So there's a lot of visions that we kind of go through in that, I guess, the initial kind of pieces that help people.
So how are you helping clients identify some of these, missed opportunities? Are you kind of interviewing them and saying, like, what have you done throughout the year? Or are you just kind of expecting them to come ready for you?
Yeah. So what's very important for our firm position, either it's going to be in-person interviews or appointments or going to be Zoom and remote. It's very critical of that tax appointment. We do now, if we've had clients for a long time that kind of say, hey, my stuff hasn't really changed, I want to mail it in. That's okay too. We'll work around what you want, but we really do like that client appointment. And that's where you can help people discuss not just only about your current tax year, but also about where your life goals at. If you're a business owner, you're getting close to retirement, what does that look like? And making sure we understand what retirement products we have and the taxability of that is. Because a lot of, especially people retiring now, have a lot of deferred retirement accounts, so that are qualified accounts that you think, oh, I got this money saved, but really there's not that tax that hasn't been paid on it. So that communication is what we try to differentiate and go through, and having availability and access, but really getting that annual appointment with your clients to discuss how's life going, what are the struggles you're having, and there's a lot of other things that we help or do with our clients if they need that assistance. They just need a little financial knowledge. Either if it's applying for aid when they have a hospital or medical or bill, or once we get to that Social Security time, making sure we understand when taking it early what that cost is versus taking it late. And so there's a lot more things that we do than just tax, but it's just developing those relationships with the clients.
Yeah. It sounds exactly like our world too. We have our annual reviews with all of our clients, and sometimes they call in and say, I don't need to meet. And we insist, and we're like, come on in. Even if you feel like nothing has changed, there might be tax code that has changed that you might not be aware of. And we're not the tax professionals. That's why we want to partner with you and push people your way. But we can help identify, those higher end opportunities. And we say, hey, go work with William because we think this is going to be affecting your tax return next year.
And that's the fun part, just communicating and giving people a little bit more comfortability of mind that I try to educate clients a little bit on their tax position so they know why we're doing things or why we can't do things, but just letting them feel comfortable that someone is there to help them. Because honestly, in the financial world you guys are in, and the tax world I am, if you didn't have a professional that was in it day to day, I think it'd be very difficult to self-guide yourself and have a successful outcome.
Yeah, I agree. Now switching gears a little bit, tell us what a day in the life looks like during your tax season, because I'm imagining it's a little hectic.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We present to colleges every once in a while, either through hiring or recruitment, they'll invite us up. And I was there and I asked the students, what do you guys think? Your accounting majors, tax season, what does that look like? They're like, oh yeah, maybe we got to put a couple more hours in. I'm like, we work 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And but that's because we care and we love it. And to go through, there's never a time during tax season. Our winters are not as harsh as yours, but we enjoy it. I love, in our office camaraderie, our group kind of gets geared up for tax season. So, but it's about all you can do and handle, but we enjoy it. We try to have a nice office space for our staff. We cater in meals with our staff to kind of keep that mood up. At the end of each month, we bring in a different food and cater it in to kind of have an office meal to laugh about the month. And we're like, okay, we got through W-2s and 1099s, and now we're through the February deadline with the farmers, and then now we're through the corporations. And so it's fun to kind of go through and just kind of keep that group. But it's every year you ask yourself, how do you do it? But I honestly just enjoy it. I love working. My father was a hard worker, and work for me is not something that I shy away from. I do enjoy just working.
So William, this is a little nugget about me personally, but when I was in high school, I worked at a CPA office doing administrative work. And I saw the CPAs basically be shut in their office spaces all day long.
Yeah.
Like they are going in at 6 a.m. and they don't leave until midnight. And I grew up in a tiny little farm town in Iowa. So a lot of farmers that they were filing tax returns for. And that was my first glimpse at, I don't think I can ever be an accountant because I didn't think I could wear through those type of night and days of working.
Yeah. It's good though. If I was in Hawaii, like it'd be different, but like our weather's not that great in the winter. And we're seeing this my primary hobby that I'm okay being in the office. I mean,
absolutely.
Like generally we're seeing 6 clients a day on appointments. So we're big on the appointments. So I like seeing my clients. I enjoy my clients. So when I look at my schedule for the day, I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah's coming in. I'm excited to see how the business is doing or how their grandkids are doing or how their kids are doing. Like it's that part I enjoy and that you get to prepare and do the work as you're kind of communicating with the client is the best atmosphere anyway, because you can answer the questions right there, make sure it's done. And if we need to get more information, we can. But we're grateful to have great clients. And so that's what makes it enjoyable.
Us too. It sounds like you really like the people side of the business. So that's awesome. So I'm sure that you deal with a lot of questions about credentials, and I get this a lot, from my clients, but hearing it from you directly, let's clear that up. So what's the difference between an enrolled agent, a CPA, and a tax preparer?
Yeah. So when I went to Washburn, my whole vision, what the school was selling was this certified public accountant. And so I went there, stayed my 5th year, got my 150 hours. I was going to sit for the CPA exam. And when I got hired at Simmons & Simmons, one of the requirements for the CPA exam, you had to work under a CPA for a year to get licensed. So even if I would have passed the exam, they were enrolled agents, not CPAs. And I really learned about the enrolled agent world there, that enrolled agent specialty is tax. That's what we do. It's your accounting thing is pretty much the same. The only difference in designation of what we do day to day in work is we don't do like book audits, not tax audits, but book audits. So if you have your financial statements, you want an audited financial statement, we do not participate in that. We're really tax specific and then business and individual oriented. So one thing I do like about enrolled agents, we are licensed from the IRS. So that gives us licensing across all states versus if you're CPA licensed, it's by the state. So you can do reciprocity agreements and work around there. But I do like that ability to be able to represent clients. So representation before the IRS, CPA and EEA are the same. So you can do a power of attorney form. We can speak on your behalf before the IRS. We can be there anytime a client has an audit. We're always kind of in there with any communications before we send anything out. So that piece really in the IRS's eyes is the same. The only difference is outside the IRS world, there's some different things, CPA designations. And then a tax preparer would be what we call an unlicensed preparer, and they can't represent clients before the IRS. So.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a very important distinction that I think most people don't have a good grasp on, is having you really represent them in those bigger deals. So I guess my next question is on the flip side of do-it-yourselfers. Like there's so many different do-it-yourself, tax software out there, TurboTax, whatnot. So what's your take on people doing taxes on their own? Do you see any impact, whether it's positive or negative, with all of those online tools?
Obviously, a lot of people are doing them online, and to some section, it really doesn't matter. We don't look at it as a competitor for us, but I would be nervous on that side. There's so many things. Even with this bill, there's 5 or 6 different provisions with the no tax on tips that's coming in, the no tax on overtime, the senior deduction. Like there's things there that if you don't get coded in correctly, because they're going to basically be coded on the W-2s, how they're going to try to get the tips and the overtime. There's $25,000 deductions that you can lose if you don't key that in right. So they're trying to do it. QuickBooks tried to automate the accounting industry, thinking, hey, we're going to link to your bank accounts and it's going to post it all itself. And really, when we joke in the industry is that the QuickBooks is a quick way to screw up your books sometimes, because it does so much in the background you don't know. And if you don't have an accounting background, you don't know what it's doing. You go to print this financial statement and balance sheet, and there's all these negative numbers. You're like, that's not right. And the amount of QuickBooks profit losses I've printed where the income has been doubled is probably more often than not, to be honest, on a new client.
Interesting.
What happens is the invoice, it creates income, and then QuickBooks links the deposit, it creates the income again. And then you get this kind of, the books just get out of the way. And I'm like, man, did you have a really good year last year? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, did you make like 400,000 or 500,000? They're like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, well, that's what your books are showing. So that's the same thing with the online. You can try to automate. There's AI and some great things out there, but even in the AI terms today, there's been some pitches that they've tried to sell us some AI tax advice software, but like the Big Beautiful Bill, AI is not moving that quick. And
No.
what you see on it too is in tax code, when something comes out, Congress talks about and says, this is what we want. Somebody writes it. We all know necessarily it isn't necessarily read or implemented that way. And then we're all trying to interpret. So even in the big, beautiful bill, there's several different items in there. The IRS is already starting to put guidance out that, hey, on the overtime of these jobs are the only ones that you can be eligible. So it's not necessarily black and white. And that's why your AI and your softwares can't execute. Because when somebody asks, hey, is that deductible? Well, it depends, so it's not going to ever be a cookie cutter thing that I think you're going to be able to get through without understanding and talking with the clients and actually understanding the situation. You can't just enter it into AI and it's going to figure it out. I think it can be a resource. We want to use what we can to be most effective, but we honestly, when tax law comes in, you're probably 7 years before some of these things are argued of what can or cannot be deducted.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up the AI conversation. It's, something that's in our world too with financial planning. And I did notice that AI has a hard time keeping up with tax code because I was asking questions about Trump accounts and I was getting, brand new Trump accounts and AI, ChatGPT more specifically. I kept getting conflicting answers. I'm like, I don't think they have this, smoothed out even in the tax code if they can't even find this out in, the interwebs.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And AI is a great tool if something's on the internet, right? It's going to search that and kind of package it together as all it's done. But in our dirt truck racing world, I laugh about AI because to be fast in the racing world, you got to know the unknown. Yeah. So AI would be zero assistance because to be fast, you're trying to get things on your car that people don't know, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's not published. It's not out there. So AI wouldn't have zero use. If you said, AI, help me set up my race car, they're only going to gather what someone else has already written. So that's interesting. You talk about creative things and books and technology, even tax law. There's new things that come out on the regular when we do our CPE that guys are like, we thought last year this wasn't eligible and it seems like now it is. It's not always super clean of what is or not that you get the tax court, but it can be 7 years before some of this stuff is really argued. So
yeah. We've definitely have seen that as well here at Paladin. So let's talk logistics though. I do want to point out, Paladin Financial, we are located in the Twin Cities metro area of Minnesota, and your office is located in Kansas, obviously, but you work with clients, across state lines. So how does your model work with serving clients in other states?
Yeah, the benefit is, when I started at the firm here in 2010, really our firm was founded in the early 1930s, so we've done a great job of evolving and understanding through really when the firm started, computers didn't exist. So understanding how to evolve to best use technology. And really today we're servicing clients across 33 states. When we moved to a new office building last year, we kind of got this map. We're pinning like, man, we're seeing people. So we've got a pretty good system. One positive of COVID, no different than this podcast today, that technology and streaming and that service with Zoom, and that has gotten so much better. So client access doesn't just have to be over the mail today. We can figure out other ways. And one benefit is too, my wife is from Wisconsin. Her entire family, father-in-law, sister, mother are there. So I think it looks like the middle of October, we're going to be up there. So we're going to try to get some time to spend some time in the Twin Cities too. So if clients do want in person, I'm huge on that, so if we want that, we're going to have some commitment to make sure our staff's making that trip. But for tax preparation, we've got a pretty dialed system. And I know with your guys' generational vault assistance coming in too, and the mail-in system that we have, we've been doing that for a long time. We've been doing that's probably since the 80s, so some of that stuff doesn't change and kind of work through.
Yeah. It's all about, convenience without sacrificing that quality. So, all right, well, let's wrap up with a topic that no one loves to think about, but I get a lot of questions about this, William. So I am curious hearing from you. How likely is the average person to be audited, and what are some common audit triggers?
Yeah, so that's a great thing. And I think we do use our software as a strong resource there. One of the goals is that you have when you prepare is that you're trying to prepare the returns for not having audit triggers. So there's great indicators that you have when you do a return to kind of look through. Is the charitable giving, it'll give you like a basis on age, like this level of charitable giving maybe for this income doesn't make sense. Or so it goes through kind of some common things. A big thing that could trigger an audit, the number one that probably does, is if you don't have all your documents in order and you miss reporting income. So we had a business owner once that had a 1099K from a credit card machine. Well, what happens is that 1099K deposits the money in, and sometimes it withholds the fee. Well, the 1099K comes out the gross number prior to the fee. So it came out that he didn't have enough income recorded. You wouldn't think that, but when you take that square fee out, Square reports the 1099 for the transactional amount, not what was deposited in your account. So if you were doing your books off the deposits and there was so not reporting income is definitely a primary key to kind of let the IRS know maybe your business isn't in that great of order. And so when they see little indicators, maybe that your paperwork's not right or you're not tying, that creates the greater audit risk. The nice part is with our clients, if that ever does happen, we're going to step in there and be there for you. Like you're not going to have to carry that stress of the audit. We get on there in power of attorney. All the mail comes to you and us directly. So as soon as you get a response, we're there. Any communications with the IRS, we're in the room with you. And so really today, most of the time with the IRS, it's pretty well remote audits. And then sometimes maybe in the bigger cities, they would be in person, but we would be there to help represent and make sure any meetings that we'd be in person. And generally speaking, I've never had any poor communications with the IRS. They are a reasonable group, and the key is to be professional with them and having a track record that you are doing it the right way and trying to do it the right way from preparation standpoint. When the audit comes, the IRS sees that you're trying to do it the right way, and that's what helps a lot. Now, if you're trying to mess around, which we don't participate in that, then that's the situation you get yourself a little bit of trouble. But doing it the right way the first time really helps in the audit back end.
Okay. I have a broader question for you. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this one, but is there anything you can't do? And the reason why I'm asking this is I'm recalling one of my clients in the last couple of months. He had some international stock, and it was an employee stock situation. He couldn't explain it to me, but he knew that there was some type of currency exchange. And so is that something that you deal with, or is that a little bit more of a niche CPA job or whatnot?
We've had some there where we've had some clients with some like Canadian type outside income. So an interesting kind of fun facts about U.S. income tax code. We had a doctor that did some work in the Middle East that if you are a U.S. citizen, you're taxed on your worldwide income. Okay, so if you make money in Switzerland, that money is taxable to the United States. We've had clients with foreign banks. That world has changed a lot with the FBAR reporting that you got to make sure and stay on top. One thing we would not get into, we don't prepare international income tax returns. So like if you did have Canadian source income, like a W-2, we would advise you to work with someone that's going to prepare that Canadian return. I wouldn't even trying to figure that piece out. But when it comes back to the United States and the foreign income, earned income exclusions and that's something we regularly deal with. We have a state hospital here in town. A lot of times we have international doctors coming in. So we've had experience working with kind of the international monies on that side. But in the IRS tax code for the United States, we feel pretty comfortable. But when it gets to international, if you're going to prepare international returns, that's really not our niche. But if you're an individual, either small business or there that really wants to have personal communication, that's where really we try to stay in our niche market.
Okay. That's really good to know. That was really helpful. So William, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
This was packed with a lot of great information, and I feel like it was a fantastic starting point of just introducing who you are, what you can handle, and I'm excited to start introducing clients to you as we enter into tax season here in the next few months.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be here, sooner than later with the questions I'm starting to get now with guys. And that's a huge part of it. We want to make sure that a lot of the best work we can do is prior to the end of the year.
Yeah.
Once you go to tax preparation, the event has already happened. There's some things we can find or make sure we get all the deductions, but the best deductions are the ones that we can plan and understand. So really for us, the busiest month we have is December.
Oh, good to know.
Our busiest tax planning months with either your farmer, your small business owner, or even individuals, that have a life event that changes. So that communication, we like to get people as much heads up. And if there's something we can do about the tax, the time to do it is in December, not in January. So we try to communicate. People want to kind of work and get together that let's get that kind of an introductory meeting and get those things put together here before year end. So we get an idea of what expectations are on your end and ours and kind of we enjoy it. So I think we're going to try to get up there. It won't be next month, but the month after we'll be there first part of the month. So.
Well, we are excited. So for those of you listening, if you'd like to learn more about working with William and the team at Simmons & Simmons Inc., just reach out to your advisor at Paladin, whether it's myself, Jeff Foley, Jeff Quick, Nikki Foley, or Matt Bryant. Just let us know and we are happy to make that introduction to William. So that concludes for our episode of Paladin Financial Talk. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'd never miss an episode. Until next time, and thank you, William, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.